What is up, YouTube? Here we are back in the garage. As you guys seen on the last video, we have this here XC700 pulled in the garage. It needs a motor, and I believe we should have everything to assemble a motor and get this thing running. So here's what we got going so far. I harvested the water pump, which looks brand new there. Usually these are all wore out from the oil pump on a high mileage sled. This thing says it has 2,000 miles. I actually believe it. However, bottom end is locked up. It's sat forever. I have a good crank sitting here. I just need to quick wipe down on it, make sure there's no little dirt pieces on it, anything like that. Good cases, all that. Brand new pistons. Now that's going off the assumption that those pistons are in bad shape. I need to tear it apart. There's a possibility I might put the old OEM pistons back in. I'm not really sure. Either I'll go new or reuse the OEMs. We'll see what happens there. But between this good bottom end, those cylinders, I should be able to put a motor together, no problem. And kind of clean a little spot off on the bench. We're gonna go ahead and tear this thing down and see how bad it actually is. Now that is a setup I'm super excited about. This does have electric start. So it has the ring gear on the primary clutch, start motor here. This thing's loaded up with the battery and everything already. It's gonna be super convenient. Just turn a key and have 700s with a little light right off. This does have 220 cylinders. Hopefully they are savable. If not, I do have others we can use. Oh, this thing is gross. Anyways, I'm gonna start off by pulling the primary clutch, then pull the starter and everything off the cases. Then we'll pull the cylinders, motor plate. Like I said, I already harvested the water pump from this motor, so I don't have to deal with none of that. And get busy splitting cases and see how bad this crank really is. Because even I had this thing spun, no problem. It was a rotating motor after after I got it loose. But just from sitting for a month while I was out of town working, this thing it's locked up again. So I'm just going off the assumption there's some icky stuff down in the bottom end, maybe some bearings rusted up, but I'm not sure. But we will find out very shortly. Well, we got this thing tore apart. This crank, toast. There's no point even splitting the cases and looking. Totally junk. Even had a stud came out of the block. I've never had that happen before. Unfortunately, the cylinders, although good looking on the top side, are actually junk. So they cold seized the living hell out of this thing from the looks of it. So it kind of got a 4-point seizure going, and that goes for both cylinders. Both those cylinders are trashed. Super bummer. Okay, now that we know this motor is a complete loss, crank, top end, everything, garbage. So luckily I got a good water pump out of it, which doesn't sound like a lot. Those are getting increasingly hard to find in good condition. I went ahead and harvested, the motor plate, the reeds, all the bolts and crankcase, carb boots, oil pump, lines, cylinder nuts, whatever. Electric start. Yeah. So there's just every nut and bolt I could possibly need to assemble a motor, even though I have, every nut and bolt 10 times over to build one of these. But anytime I have a junk motor, I take everything I can. Anything I don't use will end up in the drawer or forever living here like everything else. But now we're good. So now we know that that motor is completely trashed. So I have to figure out what I'm gonna do with cylinders. I have one new old stock cylinder, so I'd have to find a matching 220 laying around somewhere, or maybe I'll do something else. I guess we'll know very shortly what I decide to do with this motor build I have going. Okay, in true Garrett fashion, my whole plan has changed again. I went from going to build this bottom end to throw top end on it. However, I only have one new old stock cylinder. Man, I kind of hate to burn it up on a motor that has a used cylinder on the other side. So I scratched that idea. We are in fact going to use this vest motor. However, I'm gonna take the water pump, the electronics, all that off it, and I'm gonna take the head off it. We're gonna run a 98 head, 98 water pump, 98 electronics. It'll have the updated crank, cases, cylinders with the vest. Be pretty badass. So you guys remember me saying this had 2,000 miles on it and how I pointed out how nice this was and not wore out in this groove at all? This is what I'm talking about. So I got the 700 vest motor, and you can see how this is grooved out. That's what happens as the miles rack up on these. It's not really an issue. Yeah, it just is kind of a thing that happens. There's no way around it really. So, all right, well, I'm gonna keep moving forward, pulling all this crap out, the whole water pump off. We're gonna slap that old style water pump on here. We're gonna rip the head off, and can you making progress here? So, kind of back to the original plan. 700 vests. Pull the head, top end, and get this little bit of crap out of here. Top end looks freaking phenomenal. No issues whatsoever going on in those cylinders. Crank looks nice, spins over nice. Vest cylinders, pretty cool. She makes pretty good power. Plan is old water pump, old head. Everything else is newer style. So it's got the newer updated crank, the cases. And what I mean by cases is this area is cast into the cases rather than bolting on, if I could find it in my pile here. Oh, there's one. So the older cases, you'd have this that bolts onto the cases, newer cast in. Nice top end, nice bottom end. Swap out these motor plates for the old style water pump, old style head. So it just basically is going to be a newer short block with all old non-vest parts bolted onto it. Yeah. Okay, so we got this super fresh 97, 98 style water pump on the 700 vest motor. Brand new crank seal. Bolt it on. Put some Yamaha bond between this and the case tab so it's all sealed up nice. Now for the electronics. Okay, electronics are done. I kept going back and forth if I wanted to run the old Ducati ignition or if I wanted to go to the new style with the perk reverse and all that. However, I went back to Ducati, and because of that, some of the wiring was a little goofy coming off this plug, and there's other plugs which I've never seen on one of these sleds before, so I know it's not stock. However, looking at this plug and looking at this plug, they are wired ever so slightly differently. I don't have a wiring schematic or anything for the sled. I figured, I know for a fact I had to cut this one, just pull the freaking motor out, okay? So I know I can splice this one back in, or butt connect it. I can plug this back in where it went, and everything will work. So rather than opening a can of wiring worms, I'm just going back to the way it is. Amber's laughing, but she knows it's fucking true. I'm tired of working on this shit. I just want it done. I figure, you know what? She's got mechanical reverse, and I think it's going to stay on this sled for now. What are you playing with? Oh, yeah, we got a rearview mirror for the Razor. Pretty cool. I haven't really done a video on the Razor, but you might break it. Anyways, all electronics are done back on this thing, so we're gonna go ahead, throw a recoil on it, and swap motor plates, swap oil pump, prime the oil system, put the old style head back on this thing. Still got to do reeds. There's actually quite a bit. Exhaust. Oh, fuck. Alright guys, making a little progress. So, got the exhaust manifold on, all that's on. Went ahead and just cause, let's see if I can show you. No, come on, focus now. anyways, I threw some V-Force 3 reeds on it. Now, I was trying to put my fucking electric start on, and it turns out these cases are actually more different than I thought. So, these are 2002 cases. These two mounting locations are actually higher up. So, the starter sits all crooked and it hits this, whatever. Took a little break thinking about it. Luckily, I can just should be able to put some new holes in this bracket and get the electric start motor lowered down. So yeah, I mean, you can pretty much see how low those are on this old style motor in comparison to how high they are. I don't know, maybe you can't really tell on video, but it's a solid probably, at least half an inch difference. So it's a pretty good difference. But I think we'll be able to pop a couple new holes in that mounting bracket and it should work. Also on this end, I have to find new bolts because these are actually a larger hole, same as this side. Where on the older cases, these are a much smaller hole than this side. So lots of little differences from a 98 and 2002 case. Learn stuff every day. All right, motor is just sitting in chassis. Look at this nasty, rusty grossness coming out of the carburetors. So, what that tells me is this probably sat outside. Water went in, got in the carbs, went through the carbs to the motor, and that rusted out the bottom end in that motor. That's just my guess. But anyways, there we go. Electric start motor's on there. The motor's sitting in place. 2002 bottom end and cylinders. V-Force 3 reeds. Whew. The motor is sitting in there. Got the pain in the ass coolant hose down there hooked up. However, I think I'm gonna call that a video. I'm gonna do some last minute buttoning up, but it's getting pretty late, so I still want to edit this and get it posted. So stay tuned. Hopefully next video this thing will be up and running. Who knows? But you have to find out when the next video drops.